Sorry, I didn't see you guys last week. I was not. I didn't do a live stream last Friday because I was in Catalina Island. There's another video on my other channel that has my boating channel. So if you want to see what I did, you can go to the other channel and see the boating side because that happened last Friday. So, and there's more videos coming out on that. In the meantime, in the last few days, last couple days, a new event, of course, happened, and that is John McAfee. John McAfee was found dead of apparent suicide in the Spanish jail where he was being kept. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit. For some of you may not know, but I actually interviewed John McAfee last March. In fact, I put a link in the description where I have that written interview. It's written, and it's in the link in the description. The reason it's written is because I was doing Skype, and I don't use Skype, and I forgot to hit record. So I didn't know that you had to specify record. I thought it recorded automatically, and so I actually lost the recording. So I only had like my face and just random noise in the background, which I could hear, enough for me to hear to transcribe it, but not enough for broadcast. So I was not able to actually have a video interview with John McAfee. At least I wasn't able to present it to you, but it did happen, and that was the discussion that is in my write-up on the description of this video. Now, I've had quite a bit of interaction with John before that, and then also with his wife, Janice. And so we were emailing back and forth for quite a while, for several months actually. So, John McAfee then followed me on Twitter. So if you look at my Twitter account, you'll see that he did follow me, and then he retweeted that article that I wrote there and the YouTube video. I did a live stream about it right after that, and that was also retweeted by John McAfee. So that kind of gives you kind of a little bit of a background or my connection with him. I've actually been following him for a long time, and he, of course, was known for being one of the early cybersecurity experts, and that was enough reason to actually be following him, since I'm a cybersecurity guy. And the thing about John McAfee compared to some other people is that he actually hit a nerve with what he said to me. What he says to people, what he posts on Twitter, what he says in public, and a lot of what he says really rings a bell to me, and I react to what he says, and the same things that bother him bothered me. In fact, it's kind of indication of where my channel has been. I've been focused on privacy issues, and of course there is no privacy because of the spying that has been done to us by both corporations, the corporatocracy, and the government. Now, I don't speak much about the government side. John McAfee does. He primarily speaks about the spying and the corruption in government of several governments, not just the USA government. I don't really focus on that, and partly it's because I know I'm not going to win. So, I mean, if Snowden already proved that, and Julian Assange has already proved that, and more than anyone, I truly hate the fact that I have to be under surveillance in this so-called free country. All of us here are under surveillance. All of you who live in the Five Eyes countries are under surveillance. And then if you're not from the Five Eyes countries, then you're still under surveillance. And it just bugs the hell out of me. And then we have these corporate billionaire companies, the billionaires companies like Facebook, Google, Apple, Microsoft, and they're part and parcel of this system. In fact, it's very tied into the deep state. Some of you know that, I don't actually say this. I don't say anything in my broadcast about it. And to be honest with you, the reason I can't say anything is because I know that YouTube will actually censor me. So I don't focus on that, and I don't really discuss it much. I don't know what they'll do in this kind of case, based on just a brief discussion of what we're going to talk about. But in any case, I want to just ask the question, and we can see what my opinion is on this. And I'm going to tell you right now, I am not a conspiracy theorist. I actually take John McAfee's words with a grain of salt. I think I know him fairly well now, and I've been following him for a while. I've follow his posts, read his Twitter posts, even recently before he died, even just a few days before. So, and you can kind of get a sense of what his thought process was. And so the question is, did John McAfee get suicided? Did he get suicided? Now, if you don't know what the word suicided means, then I want to make sure you get educated on that. So, in order to get educated on what suicided means, we have to talk about Epstein. We have to talk about Epstein. Is there anybody here that thinks Epstein committed suicide? I mean, I want to really know, I'm not going to go shout at you or do anything. I just want to know how many people here think that Epstein committed suicide. He may still be alive. Yeah, just maybe type a 1 if you think he committed suicide. Type a 2 if you think he got suicided. So 1 is suicide, 2 is suicided. Let's see. Let's just see. So number 1 is suicide. Number 2 is suicided. So what do you think? I want to see if there's any number 1s. I would imagine I see a lot of number 2s, of course. Suicided. How many actually think he committed suicide? 1. Okay, one. Another 1. Okay, so it's like what? What's the ratio so far here? Maybe a lot of conspiracy theories come to my channel, so I don't know. But looks like 98% or something say he was so far 3 said suicide, the rest say suicided. He is alive. Okay, I don't count that. just suicide or suicided. So the Epstein case is kind of interesting, and it's in my case it's a kind of a sign of government corruption, and apparently 3 of you don't believe that. But to me, Epstein is a case that just reeks of government corruption. Here's a case where somebody obviously had secrets because of his connections to, we already know, he was connected to Clinton, he was connected to Prince Andrew. And people who didn't want secrets to be revealed, and who else hung around at this island, Epstein's Island in the Caribbean. Somebody remind me which island it was, because I saw it on the video, but I forgot where it was. Anyway, what is the probability that someone commits suicide in New York, and at the same time the video stops working, the video surveillance system stops working, and his cellmate gets moved at the same time? I mean, come on. What are the chances of that? I mean, statistically, it's really, really improbable. And yet, the coroner said, plainly, oh yeah, this is clearly suicide. There's no doubt. And any of us with common sense, we don't have to be conspiracy theorists. It's just you have to look at the probability of this, and the probability is that it is unlikely that these events just happen, especially someone that had known secrets. Now, no one can prove it now. They'll say, well, you can't prove any connections because he was dead, because he's dead. And it makes sense. And there's been many incidents of this sort claimed by the people, and I'm not going to get into that. But this one was rather obvious that the guy had secrets, and then suddenly he gets whacked before the secrets are revealed. So, if you don't think this is a sign of government corruption, I don't know. I mean, we have to be pretty dense here, because the probability is just incredible. What are the chances of these events? I mean, somebody should say, how many times has the video gone down? Now, if they say it goes down every other day for the last year, okay. Nobody said that. So the chances of the video going down exactly that right moment where people are not around to go surveil the prisoners. I mean, it's just, and then the cellmate gets moved. It just doesn't sound right. So I want to show you this thing here. This is a tweet from McAfee. So he tweeted this, and just in case you can't read that, it says, I get a tattoo just in case I suicide myself. I didn't. I was whacked. Check my right arm. Okay. So McAfee has a flair for the dramatic. So so if he dies by hanging, he says, then he didn't do it. That's what he says, right? I'll tell you my opinion. I'm just giving you, what is clearly stated about that by him. Okay, this is John McAfee in prison, and this is what he said in October, like right after he got imprisoned. So, I am content here. I have friends. The food is good. All is well. Know that if I hang myself a la Epstein, it will be no fault of mine. So you can see just from those two posts by McAfee on Twitter that you would automatically start thinking that, okay, he had to have been whacked. He had to have been suicided because he already said so. Actually, I actually don't think, I mean, as much as I think that Epstein was suicided, as much as Epstein was suicided, Peter Norton killed himself. I'm sure Peter Norton is still around somewhere. So anyway, in as much as I think that Epstein got suicided, I actually think that this was John McAfee's way of gaining notoriety. It's kind of a way to be remembered in posterity as raising the question: was there corruption? Did he get whacked because of corruption or not? He gets a final say here, because even if we never get the answer, there's a segment of the population that will always ask the question, did he get whacked? So to always bring that doubt in our mind, we will always remember John McAfee for this. So whether or not he did commit suicide, maybe he did, maybe he didn't. We don't know for sure, right? But whether he did or not, the fact of the matter is, it is clear that dying by hanging raises the question, and raises the question possibly forever, and he will be remembered along the lines of Snowden and Assange. We don't know yet what will happen to Snowden and Assange in the future. It's not looking good for Assange, and Snowden, of course, may die of old age in Russia and never leave there, and never assimilate into that society because he can't, because he doesn't want to, and basically lead a miserable life for us. And I'm going to tell you that, as far as my opinion is, that these people, Snowden, Assange, McAfee, now they don't do always the things that I accept or believe in, but they reflect something, and it's they pass a good message to us, and they're the ones with the courage to do so. I'm not sure I have the courage to do the kinds of things that they do, where they give up their lives pretty much. John McAfee pretty much gave his life to speak his opinions and his anti-establishment opinion. I mean, his big, major anti-establishment opinion. He basically gave up his life. The reason he doesn't want to pay taxes is like a statement it's like saying, I've had enough, and I don't want to pay taxes. I don't believe in taxes. That's what he believes. Now, don't attribute this to me. I mean, as much as I'm very big into having the government not surveil me, and I'm very cautious about what the government does. The fact of the matter is, I'm not going to step over that line. I pay my taxes. I get audited fairly frequently, and I come out pretty clean, very clean, and I don't have any issues with the IRS. The IRS is very happy with me, and the IRS is just a bunch of people in there following rules. The rules are made by our Congress, so the Congress makes all the laws about the financial system, the IRS and all that, and they are the ones really responsible for this. And I don't blame the IRS for implementing it, because that's their job. That's they're just employees of the government. But I pay my taxes, so I don't take that side of the argument with John McAfee. I don't say I don't go around saying don't pay your taxes. So that's not my side. But John McAfee made it clear that that government is not as free, or I mean our nation is not as free as you think. I mean, there's so much manipulation going on, manipulation of the message, and that's one thing government is able to do. They can manipulate the message. They can tell you what's important. In fact, you might say that I don't believe that the two-party system actually. It makes me wonder. It makes me wonder sometimes about what the true connections are. I'll give you an example. And it's just amusing to me. So Biden goes into power. He becomes president, and of course the first thing out of him and everybody else's mouth among the Democrats will be, "We're going to take away your guns. We're going to take away your guns." Now, of course, the other side gets all upset. "You can't take away our guns. That's just not acceptable." By the way, you can't talk guns on YouTube. So we won't talk about guns on YouTube. But the thing is that then the result is here in California, I'm going to tell you the fact in California is, to this day, there is a run on ammunition and guns. You can hardly buy any guns in here or any ammo in here. It's funny, you go to, I went to Big Five looking for a basketball, and I go in there and I look at the ammo section, and it's completely empty. And I asked them, "Do you have any ammo on a normal day?" And they said, "No, it's always gone. It's gone within an hour or two." So people fall in line. They know what the schedule is, and they go pick up the ammo. And it's like every time somebody from the state of California says, "We're going to take away your AR-15s," California now probably has triple the AR-15s before they start, maybe quadruple the AR-15s before they start banning AR-15s. There are more AR-15s here than ever, which in itself is a stupid thing, to be honest with you, because what is the difference between an AR-15 and another rifle that does another semi-automatic rifle? None. So it's just, how the politicians want it to sound. So yes, I am still live. In any case, my point is that it's almost like are the Democrats in league with the gun manufacturers? I think they use it to build up sales. If the government was all run by Republicans, there would be no gun sales. You got to get the Democrats in there to get the gun sales up. It's very funny, but it just goes to show that it's almost like between the two parties, they can like push whatever issues they want to get pushed, and everything else that's not relevant gets put aside. No government officials come around and say, Snowden was right, therefore we should pardon him. Nobody's ever said that. Very strange. And it's very strange because the courts actually found, I believe it was Court of Appeals, found that Snowden was right, that the tracking of our messages on the prison program of the NSA was in fact illegal. So surveilling us as U.S. citizens, and that was being done by a three-letter agency, was in fact illegal and found by a court of law, which is exactly what Snowden was revealing. But no, it doesn't matter that he revealed that, because according to the rules, he released secret material, therefore he's going to go to jail, even though he was a whistleblower trying to reveal secrets of the world, of this nation, of this country, the politicians and the deep state players actually manipulating us and doing things that we don't even know. There are many, many things we don't know, and that's what McAfee was always trying to tell us. And McAfee kept claiming that he had secrets. So he has secrets. I'm wondering now if he had a kill switch. If there's secrets, then maybe the kill switch should have been activated. On the other hand, what did he have to lose? I guess he could have revealed them anyway if he really had secrets, because he claimed he had secrets related to three-letter agencies. But then, I'm going to tell you what I found reading his tweets over the last few months, because these things that you saw, this comment from here, let me kind of got wiped out here. This comment from McAfee here, just so you know, this was before he got arrested. Or no, actually this was the beginning. Now this is the beginning. The whacked one was before he got arrested. This was when he got arrested. This is only in October, yeah. So this was at the beginning. So I'm going to tell you that if you read some of his tweets, he was getting despondent. He was very positive that he was going to win and not get extradited, and I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked if that really just shook him up, the fact that he was going to be extradited to the U.S., because he said in another tweet that if that happens, he would have no chance, because just like you can't bring Snowden to trial in the U.S., what they'll say is everything he says, well, we can't admit that evidence because it's a national security issue. So half of what, or 90% of what Snowden would be able to use for his defense, they would just wipe it out and say, no, we can't accept that because it's because of national security. So basically, he doesn't have a chance. And McAfee probably knew the same exact thing. If he went to court and started saying things, they would just say, "Oh, yeah, national security issue. You can't say that." So he wouldn't have much of a defense. And then he would be locked in jail forever. He actually said he actually said that he was 75, almost 76, and he said that based on his health, he didn't think he would survive the years of trying to prove his innocence. He wouldn't survive that. So it's entirely possible that he just looked at that and said, "Okay, I'm not going to subject myself to being extradited, and I don't want to fight anymore. It's just too much effort." He was actually getting depressed now about being in prison in the last few months, last couple of months. You can see his tweets started to get to the very, very depressed side. So he was definitely being affected. So it is quite possible that he said, "Okay, now let me go out my way under my control, but I will leave the doubt in everyone's mind if I got suicided or not." And then that will be, because he was kind of a social media king. He was an expert at that. Now let me just tell you some things about McAfee that it's kind of interesting. He was a master of disinformation. In fact, he went to prison. I mean, you're not following the news, obviously. Yeah. So McAfee. Let me just do a quick summary for those who haven't followed this. So John McAfee stopped paying taxes since 2017, I think, and he went on his boat, his yacht, and then just left the United States and went in the Caribbean and said, I'm not gonna pay taxes. I'm going to just, I'm not gonna pay taxes anymore. And he just went around in the Caribbean and kept saying that on Twitter. And of course, the powers to be didn't want him going around saying, don't pay taxes. So that in itself was a cause for him to be targeted. And so through many maneuvers, they tried to catch him in the Dominican Republic, I believe. And then he managed to get away from the clutches of the U.S. government there. And then he disappeared. And we found out later that he went to the UK and then went to Iceland. And then that's where he hid for a while. He was tweeting from Iceland in an undisclosed location. And then from there, he went somewhere in Eastern Europe, likely, the Ukraine or somewhere over there. Can't know for sure. But somewhere around that area, he would always put photos of him near the Black Sea, but I think that's misinformation. He would also put in photos of him in Berlin, or is it Munich? Munich, I think. And reality was by the time he posted the pictures, he was long gone. So he would say, I'm meeting you in Munich, and then he was long gone, and he was just playing this little game. And of course, the cat and mouse game, it's a bit of a problem here because he accepted an opportunity to do a speech in Turkey, and then he went through Spain, and then that's when they got him. And then the Spanish government arrested him. They probably got a tip from the three-letter agencies, and they arrested him. And he has been there since October. So I interviewed him in March. So I believe he was caught in October and has been there for 7, 8 months now. Was there for 7, 8 months. And then the courts were trying to decide if they were going to allow him to be extradited to the U.S. And last Wednesday, the Spanish government announced that they were going to allow him to be extradited to the U.S. And then that's when he was found dead. So the question is, did he have any secrets that they didn't want him to reveal in court even? I mean, that's a possibility. That's a thing that remember, he actually worked for three-letter agencies. McAfee actually worked. He worked for NASA. He had some secret contractor stuff with three-letter agencies even before. He was doing all that stuff with them. He was an engineer, mathematician. He was a genius. So he was one of the first cybersecurity guys. So he is many, many years ahead of me, and he already thought about some of this. And it's funny when he arrives at a solution in his mind about how to attack a problem. I have a similar way of thinking, so we have a similar approach and similar discovery of how to solve a problem with cybersecurity and security and so on. So that's why I follow him, because he was like like-minded individual. So in any case, I don't know what happened to him. We obviously there's no facts yet. We don't know anything. It's not as obvious as the case with the Epstein one, where obviously somebody didn't want Epstein to speak, and just whack him and get rid of him. It makes sense. But it wasn't clean. It wasn't obvious, because the timing of the events. I mean, if it really did it, they should have kept the video on. So, and especially when they knew this was going to happen, since he was under suicide watch to begin with, and they let it happen. So, the chances of killing yourself in prison is quite rare. You can't simply hang yourself in a cell. There is not a way to do it. Now they did it twice. Well, of course, it's in a different country, but where is the body in the autopsy? Well, it's too early for that. So I certainly am not going to make any statement about, did he or did he not get suicided. I'm just saying to you, it is possible that he did intentionally commit suicide with the intent of leaving the doubt in our mind that if he was in fact suicided or not, to focus the attention on corruption. Pretty strong statement, if true. So whether or not it's true, we will always ask in our minds, was he whacked because of the corruption in government? We don't know. So anyway, I hope we find out, in the next few weeks here, what actually happened. Can we trust what we find out from the Spanish government? No. I fail to trust any government. If you actually see some of the stuff that was coming out of Assange's Wikileaks, then you really would fail to trust government at all. In case you forgot, some of you have really forgotten this, because I don't really talk about this, but Assange revealed that the CIA was actually spying on American citizens, and all the techniques they were doing to spy on you, including spying on your antivirus, spying on you with your Samsung TV, spying on you with various loaded software on your computers, and hacks of various sorts, and ways to listen in, and so on, that was in the WikiLeaks. I read all that, and was, it was a treasure trove of information that many of you don't actually remember. But I'm going to tell you, I read a lot of that, and it's one of the reasons I state to you now, as I've always stated in the last few years, do not use an antivirus, and certainly not one from Symantec. Do not use an antivirus. If the three-letter agency themselves do not trust an antivirus. If a three-letter agency doesn't trust an antivirus, you shouldn't either. So, trust the government and eat at, they keeping us safe. They're keeping us safe? Oh yeah. By the way, the whole surveillance system, the whole reason that they record our conversations, do tracking with the prison program, tracking our phone calls, do wiretapping with the CALIA law, the Communications Act for Law Enforcement Assistance, CALIA, from the Clinton administration. which means building in the wiretapping directly into the systems of all the big companies, all the telecommunication companies, even Skype. This all, it's already built in there. So if they want to surveil somebody, they just turn on the switch. All the stuff that Snowden revealed about the fact that what we can do, they collect everything. They collect all of your emails. They collect everything. And we say, oh no, they're not doing that. Obama went on TV and said, we don't do that. We don't do that. We don't spy on individuals. Incorrect. See, he's using the phrasing to actually twist it around and make it sound like he's still telling the truth, but he was lying to his teeth. And what the three-letter agencies do is collect all of your data and they put it into a database. And what they're saying, that when they're saying they don't spy on you, what they're saying is that they don't look at the data that's in the database. They're saying that the average agent cannot look at the data in the database. Therefore, they're not looking at your data, even though it's collected. Again, another lie, because when Snowden revealed this, what Snowden showed is that all you have to do to basically research anyone, including girlfriends and relatives or enemies of somebody who works for a three-letter agency, all you had to do was prove a connection with somebody who was a foreign, somebody with a foreign connection. Well, how easy is that? So look at me. Do I have foreign connections? Yeah, they're going to look at people on YouTube coming in here from many different countries and say, oh, he has a foreign connection. Oh, that justifies it. Let's go spy on him now. So we will be justified based on the FISA law. So FISA and all that's the abuse of power, surveilling us. That's the kind of stuff that was being revealed to us by Snowden, Assange, McAfee, and now we lost one. We lost one. And he was the one who had connections. He actually had connections. And he would often say he had connections. And he knew some of what they were working on. And he would say that, you know, what you think they're working on, they're far further ahead than you think. Because he was part of building something in the past. And of course, in the past, that was pre-internet. And he was already doing it. So, and now we lost one. We lost one. So no, I don't think John McAfee is gonna appear in different places like Elvis. I don't think so. But this really saddens me, because I'm gonna tell you, I interviewed the guy, and before the official interview and just talking to him beforehand, before the broadcast, and even after the broadcast, he was a very respectful man, very courteous, courteous, and very it's a very nice man. I mean, he was very respectful, and you know, he would even call me sir, and he was the older gentleman, and I liked him. I thought it was a pretty cool guy, aside from the craziness. He is crazy in a sense because he can't control his urges. I mean, he obviously had a lot of sexual urges and so on, and he was into drugs and everything else. Everything for immediate satisfaction he would do, and it didn't stop him. You can't shut him up. He had this kind of thought process where there was no filter, and which was kind of cool in a way, because you found a guy that was always frank and honest, and you can see him on Twitter, just being open and yeah. So one of the last things he said that is, how come he's gonna get? He was indicted for presumably pushing crypto, yet Elon Musk did it all the time. And Elon Musk was responsible for the pushing of crypto because said Tesla will now accept crypto. And then sometime later he said, no, we won't. And he affected the pricing of crypto. And so John McAfee said, that's kind of unfair. I mean, I'm on Twitter saying the same stuff, and I just give my opinion, and then you're going to take me to jail for it. And Elon Musk says it, and he doesn't go to jail. So anyway, that's just the way it rolls. It's very sad. I really like the guy. I really believed in a lot of what he said, and he was very opinionated. Some of it was kind of like some of it was made for a shock factor. So he was purposely trying to shock you. But I would go beyond that and get to the point of what he was trying to do, and I didn't bother overreacting to the shock stuff, because he purposely did that because he was a master at it. And I think partly one of the reasons that he kind of got depressed was because he said he didn't think the latter months here, he didn't think people were reacting to his tweets anymore. He thought he was losing it. So that in itself was probably a signal to him that it's kind of over for the social media side. So anyway, that's just, so I'm trying to read here some of the comments. So yeah, so I stop with paper. Oh, sorry. Thank you for telling me that. Okay, so let me just get to your comments here. Did anyone else hear that sound wave? Yes, he was. Elon is sending thousands of spy satellites up in space. Just a game. Live stream over. Live stream is not over. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, T-Bone Roysters. What about the Q? You want me to get banned from YouTube? I'm not going to make any comments about that. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm just telling you what I know to be factual things. The WikiLeaks stuff that revealed that the CIA had all these tools to spy on you, that is not a conspiracy theory. That was factual. I actually saw the CIA documents. I actually read it all. They were actually inside CIA documents with techniques and so on. That is not a conspiracy theory. So no, I'm not big into conspiracy theory. Q is a conspiracy theory. A lot of Q stuff is conspiracy theory. So if you're into that, well, that's your thing. That's just not my thing. I'm more of a factual guy, and I will just state facts. Not everything that McAfee says is proven, but at least it's based on something he knows. He made statements like proton mail of CIA is one of the things he said, and then proton mail actually came to me and said, it's not true that proton mail is CIA. So I make no statement about that. I mean, I didn't say either way, if it is or it isn't. I just said that McAfee said it. And I don't know if he had some contact that gave him reason to say that. So I don't know. He told me, in a private Skype session that he thought that that proton mail was CIA. So yeah, I don't believe, I do not base my assumptions of usage. I don't use proton mail, and I don't recommend you use proton mail, but I wouldn't say that you should stop using Proton Mail because it's affiliated with anything, because I don't know if it's affiliated with anything or not. So that's not for me to say. So if somebody, I have reasons for not wanting to deal with a Proton Mail or a Tutanota or any of those. It's not specific to any one of them. I just know that they're lying to you. The lie is that when you use these products and you actually think you're getting privacy, and the fact of the matter is that they got so much more information than you think, in spite of what they say, in spite of what encryption they have. And I've tried to explain that in many videos, and it's really not gotten popular. I've tried to explain it. Maybe it's too deep, maybe it's too boring of a topic, but I'm going to tell you right now, it's one of the reasons that certain things really bug me about Signal, Proton Mail, email in general, Facebook. They all have this ability to do what is called a relationship map, and it really bugs me. And so the solution is to not get involved with platforms that are able to make a relationship map of real identities. And that's what I'm trying to push. Now, YouTube itself is not capable of doing a relationship map because we don't have any way of directly communicating on YouTube. But Google does, because Gmail itself is able to do relationship maps. YouTube does not have that capability. So YouTube in itself is not that kind of danger. My beef with YouTube is more about censorship. My beef with YouTube is their ability to control what people say. As an example, last year they basically closed down accounts or demonetized accounts that ever mentioned that the coronavirus could have come from a Wuhan lab. So YouTube would, ban or suspend or demonetize accounts that ever said that. And in fact, one of my videos that talk about COVID was demonetized. And now today, the discussions in all of media, including mainstream media, now are opening up that discussion. So this is the bad thing, is you make a judgment early on and you say, we are, as arbiters of truth, are going to decide what we think is real news and fake news, and we will decide that. And now, as an example with this topic, it's obviously false, because what happened now here is that they actually stopped the research. If nobody stopped it, then the discussion would have been coming forward. Who knows what evidence may have been lost just because companies like Google, Twitter, and Facebook said, oh, well, let's ban some of these statements. So now nobody does any research on them because they don't want to come on social media and be banned by social media for making any statements. That's why I don't, a lot of what I say in this video here will be limited to this video. This is not my everyday kind of topic. I'm not going to be talking about a lot of this because it just puts me in the crosshairs of YouTube. And I don't need to be, because that's not really what my focus is. I focused on a different battle. Just so you know, I focused on a different battle, and the battle that I focused on is the individual. Trying to battle this, with government forces against freedom fighters, that kind of thing, is not going to work for me, because I'll be wiped out of social media with that kind of platform, and that's what some people have already experienced. They've been wiped out of social media, and they are not able to speak. So that's not what I need to do. I need to just approach each one of you personally as individuals, and what I focus on is at the individual level, because some of you will understand that regardless of your political beliefs, you will understand what I'm talking about, because it applies to both. One of the things I do not want to have happen is for people to take a side and say, we are not going to pay attention to privacy because you're not in our political side. I don't want that, because there's no difference between political side when it comes to privacy. Back in the 70s, it was from the 50s on, actually, I would say, it was the left that was always being attacked, and they were the ones getting profiled, and secret little lists were being done, all the way from the Nixon years, where they were collecting lists of gay people so that they would be banned from working in government. So that was during Nixon's time, and that was a task given to Hoover to make that list. And also that, some of you may forget the general, forget his name, Helsinger or Helvinger, whatever his name is, that plotted the false flag to sink an American ship and blame it on Cuba. This is the kind of corruption in government. The only reason that didn't happen was because Kennedy said, no, we're not going to do that. But that was actually recommended that they do that. They sink an American ship to justify invading Cuba. Just the same reason that the Gulf of Tonkin incident, which started the Vietnam War, was actually not an attack on the U.S. And they used that as an example, and history now shows that's actually not what. And on and on. There are many, many stories like this. Many stories like this. And somebody even mentioned on my broadcast about the Liberty ship that was basically blown apart in Israel, in the ocean right outside between, I believe, right at the border of Egypt and Israel. And it was blown up because it was witness to something happening during the early parts of the Israeli, the 3-day war. How many days was the war? I forgot. So, and the U.S. ship was basically blown to bits, and the survivors of that ship were forbidden to speak about that until their deathbed. So we actually only found out about some of this in the last 10 years because they finally revealed the secret to the press when they were dying, because they didn't have to fear anymore. And that's the kind of stuff that that happens, and you say, well, you trust government, and government is always doing the right thing for us. A 7-day war? Sorry. I'm forgetting now. Sorry, my history is bad now. 7-day war. Okay. Thank you. So, if you look back in history about the stuff that we claim that the government has done for us or is accurate, and you actually see that there's always been a deep state, and that there's people that stay in power regardless of who is actually in power, regardless of if there's a different president. It's always the same deep state that runs all the bureaucratic parts of the 3-letter agencies, and everything just runs exactly the same way. And yeah, the leadership changes in each department, but really nothing changes because they're not going to tell them everything. They just get funded, and they do the stuff supposedly in our name, and we only assume that we understand when we watch some movie like Jason Bourne movies and say, oh wow, but it's only a movie, it's not real. The 6-day war was also known as the June War. Okay, thank you for pulling that snippet. So believe it or not, just like Snowden and Assange have already shown, and McAfee, that the governments our government and many governments don't actually necessarily do things for us. They do things to sustain power. Corporations like Google, Facebook, Tesla. I like Tesla, but they're not on my crosshairs at the moment. But they could be. Microsoft, Apple. These guys are in here for money, the money. And if their choices imply they will make more money, then they will make those choices, regardless of what you think they will say or do. So you actually think that putting in these mesh networks that they control, this is not like a public mesh network. We're talking about private encrypted mesh networks. And you're trusting companies like Amazon to say, oh, we will only use this for good. And you actually trust that. That's like trusting the government, trusting all these parties. What you don't understand is this is about power. So if you give them the power, they will use it. And one of the reasons that I push privacy is because when you get privacy, you basically deprive them of power, because you deprive them of information about you. When you give them this information, you deprive them of the ability to decide for you. Somebody said to me, in one of you made a comment here about why should I care about all of this? So what if they're spying on me? So what if they're surveilling me? So what if iPhone knows where I am? And I have nothing to hide, that kind of statement. Sick and tired of hearing that, of course. And the fact of the matter is, these individuals really think that these companies will never do anything that is not good. And I think I've already shown that they already always do things that are not good. They do things for money. In case you didn't know, Amazon, which runs your Amazon Echoes listening to your voices, which you trust with your voices and your conversations, is one of the biggest government contractors. So Jeff Bezos will be offered a contract by somebody in the Biden administration and say, hey, spy on the citizens and give us access, and we'll give you $20 billion. Will you do it? Yeah, you're going to say, Jeff Bezos is going to say, no, that's not a good deal. No, I'm not going to take the $20 billion because I believe we shouldn't spy on our citizens. BS. I'm going to tell you right now, Bill Gates is a big believer in surveillance. He actually said, we have no right to privacy. We need to be protected by the surveillance. Bill Gates was, good thing that Microsoft is so bad at surveillance. Although they are pushing it apparently in Windows 11. So Windows 11 is apparently going to require a Microsoft account. Don't know if you can disable that after logging in. Don't know. But they said that they will now require a Microsoft account to set up a computer using Windows 11. We'll find out. That's what I've seen so far, as far as what's being said about it, and that's a big problem. But so far, Microsoft has been poor at being a surveillance organization, even with the purchase of LinkedIn. And maybe they were trying to expand their ability to spy on us with LinkedIn, but Microsoft is very poor at that. The Google obviously is an expert. Amazon is an expert at spying, and so is Apple. Apple is very good at spying, and they give access to government to access your records under subpoena. So if somebody asks for a record for subpoena, Apple will willingly give it to them. So if you think that somehow Apple protects you, hell no. It's not one of these fake news things. So some of you say, well, one of you say again, well, Tim Cook is gay, so he's got to be good. It's like, what? Peter Thiel is gay. Peter Thiel owns Palantir. What does that have to do with anything? Stop being, what? What is the term for that's not racial, that's, I don't know what the terminology is, but you know what I'm talking about. The mainstream media has programmed us to think it's wrong to believe in conspiracies, but some are real conspiracies. That is correct. That's why, I think that the probability of Epstein being a conspiracy theory, being a theory, is on the low side. Just statistically, it's not likely. But I'm not gonna, some of these statements, made by you stuff you see on Twitter, like pizza places and so on. It's like, come on. I mean, you stretch it too far without any factual basis, and you definitely are making a conspiracy theory. I don't do much of that. I do not do that. Everything I say here is based on either an educated research guess, because certain things we can't know for sure, or something that I picked up on based on what they said, like an entity. Like some of you have often made this comment about, how do you know Google tracks you 24/7? They say they don't. And no, they actually say they do. And I've explained how many times, and some cybersecurity researchers come to me and say, well, you haven't proven that. I've tried to track what Google's doing, and you haven't proven that they do this thing called Wi-Fi scanning, which I've already told you they do, Wi-Fi scanning, where they collect the MAC addresses of the routers around you and use that to track locations. And Sammy Rankar from DEF CON, he really hacked into that database. There's a video about it. He hacked into that database. There's a published API from Google where you can see exactly how that database is used. It's called the geolocation API, which I personally use. And they actually said that before they used to track the locations using Street View cards, and now they use your phones. Your phones are now used to track you, to collect Wi-Fi router locations, the Wi-Fi scanning 24/7. And some cybersecurity guys are telling me, you don't have proof of that. It's like, don't be stupid. If they say it, then endgame, that's it. If the opposition already admits to it, you're not going to come back and say, well, I got to go prove that it's really true or not. They said it. Okay, and another company that collects this location info based on having them say it is Skyhook. So Skyhook made the software that goes into the chip, that goes into the iPhone, that tracks you, and it's using Wi-Fi scanning. Now that is the Apple version of the Wi-Fi scanning that I was talking about. And somebody said, well, how do you know that Apple's doing that? Because the Skyhook CEO has a video. And he said it in his own words. He was actually boasting about the chip and how he used it. They may have taken the video down, but I happen to have seen it because I know what I was looking for. And I found it, and he was very proud of it. It's a lot of stuff I see that if you don't know what you're searching for, you're not going to find. That's one of my skills. I find stuff like that. I found a way that the phone baseband modem can be updated on the air. So there's a baseband modem on the phone, which is the cell portion. And I found that the firmware can be updated on the air, meaning wirelessly through the cell carrier, meaning somebody could change the code in there. And to what extent they can do that, I have no idea. I mean, obviously it's a big secret. They're not gonna tell us. But the fact of the matter is, I saw the document that explained that they can do OTA updates. It's probably a secret document that happened to float on the internet. I found it. Qualcomm. So you're going to tell me, oh, you don't have any proof of that. So I'm more of like a press guy. I don't have the time to go spend, weeks and weeks at the lab testing this stuff. I have to act like a investigator, and if I find a clue, because a lot of these are secrets, because they're secret, nobody's gonna tell me directly. I have to uncover some of this. So what is Amazon up to with Amazon Sidewalk, for example? Do we really know? No. Do you trust them? Somebody said to me, it's just an example of somebody putting too much trust. Somebody said to me, according to Amazon, they only use the wake-up word, and the wake-up word is on the device. Okay, let's just assume you're right for a moment, that the wake-up word is on the device, that they only recapture the words after the wake-up word, which could be misconstrued, by the way, because the wake-up word may think a word is a wake-up when it's not, because something sounds like Alexa, or they heard it on TV and it turned it on and started recording. Okay, let's assume. Thank you, burn your bridges. But let's just assume that they're right for the moment. What I was trying to tell you in my video on the Amazon Sidewalk Skynet thing was that they have an API for changing the wake-up words called cloud-based. I forget the wording in the API, but it's there. It's in the API. It was cloud-based wake-up word. They had the capability to do a wake-up word of any word, and it was and they had an API for it, application programming interface, meaning they had the capability to use it. So somebody will say, well, they're not using it, so we're safe. So you trust them that they already wrote the API for the wake-up word to be any word. In fact, if you're in a different country, you can choose your own wake-up word, which has to be cloud-based. But some of you will say, well, I trust what they say, so it can't possibly be. They can't possibly be spying on us. If that's your mentality, then that's not my mentality. My mentality is you give people the way to get power, they will use it. It's just the way it is. Give them the tools, they will use it. Don't assume that they will do it because they want to be kind to you. No, they're not going to do it for you. They're not going to be doing it to be kind to you. They'll do it because they can make money off it. And that's the presumption when they collect our data. Is don't presume that they're collecting that data and saying, oh, we won't use this for any nefarious purpose. So this thing that Google's doing with flock federated learning of cohorts, so you're going to be put into these cohort categories, so they're going to know if you're 10% Republican, 50% Republican, 80% Republican, 10%, so they have it on a scale, liberal, how liberal are you? From communist, socialist, on, to middle of the road Democrat. They got that all flagged and isolated in groups with all of your thoughts and ideas and your opinions on every subject matter will be in a cohort. And you're saying, well, that doesn't matter. They can't use that for any bad purpose. And that is exactly what McAfee was talking about. This is the kind of stuff, when somebody has this information, they can actually control the message. They can control the message. So it's very sad when McAfee was the one, telling us about this, and now no one's around. Hopefully I'll be here telling you about the same stuff. But it's a big loss because, he was kind of my support circle, so to speak, because he was saying the same things I was saying. And the fact that he was out there doing the fight and saying the same kind of things was very comforting. And now to lose a peer in the same kind of thing that I'm doing, it's very, very sad. So, yeah. So it's Google is obviously one of the other big contractors of the government. Yes. So you have to understand that. In fact, you may not know this, but Google search itself was, in fact, Google itself was founded by three-letter agency funds. So Google itself, the whole spying thing of Google is actually a product of the initial seed money given by three-letter agencies, in case you didn't know that. And the guy that made Pokemon Go was one of the early people in there that actually made Google Earth, and then he made Pokemon Go. And I've always doubted what Pokemon Go would do, because Pokemon Go could, in theory, do interior mapping. So Pokemon Go, Google Earth mapped, Street View mapped the outside, and now they have inside mapping with Pokemon Go. So if somebody had all the coordinates of, what could be detected indoors, and somebody can map your interior and keep it in a central database. It's kind of stuff that's scary if you understand the technology. Most people don't understand that the technology can be quite dangerous if you know what to do with them. Sometimes it takes somebody with knowledge of the technology like me to tell you why it can be dangerous. That's why Bluetooth. Many of you didn't realize what Bluetooth was up to. And they didn't tell you, or you didn't really understand what the effect of a mesh network is if it's controlled by somebody else. Now, if you made your own mesh network, it's probably good. But if you made a mesh network that can be controlled by somebody else, like Amazon Sidewalk, that's zucked up. So it's possible to make a Bluetooth mesh just for yourself. And I guess that's not really that useful. What I fear more is that somebody large would say, we're going to put a Bluetooth mesh in every street corner, and it will have our network key, and they collect it, and it's controlled by one entity. So a large entity controls a lot of these devices. That's the scary part. That's what I was trying to say. Because it is possible to do mesh networking for a good purpose in a limited scenario, like in your house. What is the best email? Your own email server. That is the only best email. Thank you, by the way. So, you meshed your pants. I've been sus about the government since 9/11. Wasn't Sonos speakers, Sonos speakers, a Bluetooth mesh network? No, I don't think it was a mesh network. It was just a Bluetooth network controlled by the centralized Sonos control unit. That's not really the idea of a mesh. A mesh network is like different devices. It can actually be different brands. And what the mesh does, having a bunch of devices controlled by radio into a central unit is one thing, but having a device forward messages to other devices, that's what gives it the range. So the new Bluetooth mesh allows a device, let's say your light bulb, can forward a message to another light bulb half a mile away. How about the light bulb forwards a message to the RFID reader that's 30 miles away because of hops going through multiple light bulbs? That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. If you understand what you could do with that. We're not there yet. They haven't built this. I mean, the technology is built, but the infrastructure is not built yet for this. Low-key gangsta. So yeah, I know my limits. I'm here. I have my own platform. I can say anything on my own platform, which is brags me. But here on YouTube, I got to be circumspect about what I can say here. And yeah, so it should be obvious. I have to keep to their rules. I am censored here. There's certain things I can't talk about. Uh, yeah, just they'll probably demonetize this. We'll find out when the stream is over. If they demonetize it, they demonetize it. Big deal. We'll see. But it kind of proves the point. If they demonetize this video, then it kind of proves the point. So 5G wouldn't be capable of doing that. 5G is controlled by the cell companies. 5G is a big central player putting multiple devices to track you. It's not a mesh. A mesh is peer-to-peer. Little devices talking to other little devices. Kind of, there's a bit of independence in that. There's like no big player controlling it. So the problem is who owns the devices. If one player puts in a lot of devices, then they can really control you. I haven't read that book, Surveillance Capitalism, but I know of it. Of course, I've read the books by Bruce Schneier, also about the same thing with surveillance capitalism. Please advise my startup how to contact. I don't have time for that. Thoughts on white SIM cards. What are white SIM cards? They're not black SIM cards? How do we know JM is dead? Government says he's dead. The U.S. government says he's dead. The Spanish government says he's dead. Therefore, he's dead. Because they're not going to go hide him. They want him dead. So, they want him dead, he's dead. So, somebody says, well, then, he could have faked his death. That would have assumed that he would have been able to escape jail long ago. That he would have escaped it rather than be there and fake his death. And the other thing is, if he truly had a kill switch, I'm waiting to see if anything comes out from a kill switch, if there was such a thing. If he died with his own hands, then he did not have a kill switch. He doesn't need one if he dies with his own hand. If he died by being suicided, then there may be a kill switch. We'll find out when a kill switch gets publicized. I should write to my cell carrier to complain about white SIM cards if I knew what white SIM cards were. So I'm late. Did you say suicide or funny business? I don't know, General Junkie. No, I do not know. I'm saying though that if he wanted to kind of stay in the limelight forever and be known for passing the message of possible corruption and all that, keeping that doubt that did he die by suicide or being suicided, that would be a good thing in his mind to keep for posterity. Because if we look in the future, we're always going to say, was he suicided? And it will always be a term that we'll attribute to McAfee. So, like before, we would have thought it would have been, something we would attribute to Epstein, but now we can say that McAfee took over. Definitely Epstein didn't kill himself. That's the thing is, the think about the ability of those with power. Do you think those with power can hide a murder? Let me just ask that question, and one's a yes, two is a no. Do you think a government could hide a murder? One's a yes, two is a no. Certainly Saudi Arabia tried to hide the murder, but another government says, no way. So, one, a government can hide a murder. Two, no, they cannot hide a murder. So is that a conspiracy theory to assume that a government could do that? Well, I'm going to tell you, for my personal experience, having lived in a dictatorship, that definitely the dictator could have easily hid anything. Somebody says two. Somebody did think. Tiffany thinks you can't hide a murder. I'm going to tell you right now that in a dictatorship, they hid many murders. I am certain. I am certain they did. By the way, when I was living in a dictatorship, this was in the Philippines, way back when. My uncle was a mayor. So it was actually my uncle-in-law. Anyway, he was a mayor in the city, and he was constantly being gunned down. And there was always political fighting going on with people shooting each other to maintain power. And his son was killed. His son, I think, two sons were killed. Different incidents. He himself didn't die. He actually stayed mayor for many more decades. Then he died. He died of natural causes after that. But yeah, and all of that was hidden away. I don't see that in the news. And they were all doing this shooting, and they were killing all these people. And it's like, you don't think they can hide that? So I'm telling you right now, yes, of course they can do that. I mean, if you know this and witness it yourself, then you say, yeah, of course it can be that. Oh no, our system, you can't do that. Well, there's always a reason. So, was he a religious man, McAfee? No, I think McAfee was an atheist. Which is, if he's an atheist, it would kind of explain why he may commit suicide. Somebody who's not an atheist probably would not, but an atheist will not have any problem committing suicide. So, the government is, government's capable of a lot of stuff. So some of you come to me and, I don't talk about the government like I said, in my YouTube channel and my YouTube videos. I do not talk about the government because it'll put me in their crosshair. So I don't talk about stuff like that. This is not a Q channel. This is, I don't do conspiracy theories. I don't talk political sides. This is not that. And I wouldn't want to, but on the other hand, just know that it's a formula to fail, because obviously I would be censored, deplatformed, demonetized. And I already say that, every time I do my video, I said, in case I get demonetized, go follow me on Odyssey. And I have to do that because, who knows? I say stuff that is, very anti-Google, anti-Facebook, anti-Microsoft, anti-all of this. And, somebody will get angry and said, we need to make this guy disappear from social media. So they can do that. So fortunately, there's enough of a following. There's many of you on Me. Many thousands of you. I forget the count now, but there's many of you on Me. And many of you in Odyssey. I have, I believe, 55,000 plus subscribers on Odyssey. And on Odyssey, I am of the, excluding the creators, excluding Odyssey itself as a participant here, just from the actual creators, I would be number 11. And then number 2 would be James Corbett. So let's see, that would put Donald Trump at number 13. So I'm above Donald Trump on Odyssey. I have, I believe, over 2,000 subscribers more than Donald Trump. So, yeah, so I tell you to follow me there because you never know. So at least you know where to find me. But you can watch me here. Just follow me there. But if I disappear here, then you'll know where to find me. Plus, you know that I'm on Brax.me. So, but I don't, my videos are on the video platform, so I have to have reach. And if I just put it on my own platform, then no one's going to see it. How do you disrupt Bluetooth connections? The Bluetooth is in the 2.402 to 2.480 frequencies. And so you can actually jam those channels. It's kind of a wide band. So that's how many megahertz? That would be a 80 megahertz range. That's a pretty big That's a pretty big signal to jam. You may need multiple devices. So yeah, so that you can jam it. It's easier to jam GPS because that's fewer signals and fewer. Yeah, it's easier to jam GPS. Or you can fake the GPS. You don't even have to jam it. You can even fake it and have devices read a different location or wrong location. Just clear your throat really loud Bluetooth. Does anyone ever wonder why these private drug companies can sell drugs, but if you try it, you go to jail? Invent a useful device that jams sidewalk. It's illegal to do any kind of jamming. So if I don't need to invent it. It's pretty easy to do. But it's illegal. So I can't tell you how to. I can show you a video where I can do it as a test, but it would be illegal to actually do. My Odyssey, search for me, Rob Braxman on Odyssey, but the link is in the description. There's a link in the description, and then they give me a little credit if you actually follow the link. Aussie Len, how are you, Aussie Len? Girl Rush fan, hey, Girl Rush fan, from Periscope days. You know, some of the people from Periscope are lonely now, so they can come to YouTube and join one of these live streams. So how do you disrupt Bluetooth connections, which I already answered? Yes, you can. I even give you the frequencies, the 80 megahertz range, and you can block it with a transmitter. You can do it. It's just not legal. I can demonstrate it, but it's not legal to do. I can do it in a test environment with what is called a dummy load, a attenuated antenna, so it doesn't really, it will jam like, something next to me, won't affect a neighbor. I can do that. I have a license, so I can do testing like that, but that is not legal. Okay? No, the question is, are you allowed to do anything illegal? Well, that's I'm not going to tell you that, or somebody will whack me. Is private encryption system legal? Not over the airwaves, not on ham radio. So so no. Now, do you have to reveal that you are on an encrypted system? You can use normal words and it could be encrypted, and they'd have to guess that it is encrypted. So, yeah, I mean, you could come up with your own encryption system and make it look like a normal conversation, and using some sort of keyword system there, you can create a encryption, and then you can subject that to another second level of encryption or third level of encryption using modern techniques like AES 256 or something, and put a second layer on it, and then they won't know. So yes, you can do that. It is possible to do that, in which case no one will, even though it's illegal based on ham radio rules, it wouldn't be discovered. Ham licenses still available in the US? Of course. I have a ham license. You just take a test. Who is the prince of the power of the airwaves? That's one video that I need to do, is to show you that the battle for privacy has shifted to the airwaves. So before we just say internet, and it's kind of shifted because of mesh networks and so on, where the idea of being chipped and the idea of our RFID loaded enhanced driver's licenses are being tracked by external forces are actually going to happen, because we are not thinking about the fact that the enemy is now using the airwaves. So anyway, I'm out of time, guys. I'm out of time. It's I always set a limit of an hour and a half on my live streams, and I'm at an hour and a half and 1 minute. So thank you for watching, and I'll be back next Friday. No problem there on that schedule. Sorry for missing you last Friday. Just a rare moment. And I did not tell you, my goodness, I did not tell you that this video is sponsored by Linode. How can I tell you that? So, in case you don't know about my sponsor, Linode, I'm actually a big user of Linode myself. And I use many ISPs, but I have determined that Linode is actually one of the least expensive ones, and also the best in tech support. They really are. I've had so many issues where I can't get resolution from others, and they have really helped me. So for example, I have a VPN service, and I rely on Linode for a big chunk of my infrastructure. And I use some other ones, but Linode is one of the ones that I rely on quite a bit. And they have made my VPN service affordable. So I've also used Linode for running an XMPP server, a Jitsi server, and Nextcloud server. I run my own servers through Linode. If you want to try some stuff with Linux, you can try it with Linode for as little as $5 a month. You can, load up a Linux server and learn how to load up a Linux server for $5 a month. So it's educational as well. And they will preload stuff for you already. They have applications already preloaded. You can run a website, whatever, $5 a month. And that's all you would need for normal people. So Linode has a program where they will give you $100 credit that you can use over 2 months if you use the link linode.com/Rob Broxman. Now, somebody said that link no longer works, and I asked Linode, and they rechecked it and made sure that it does work. So if you did not get that link to work last couple of weeks or so, then they have verified with me that it is now working. So that link is working, whether you capitalize the letters or not. So they'll take it as Rob, capital R, capital B, Rob Broxman, capital R, capital B, or just all lowercase. It will take both of that. So thank you guys for watching, and if you have any suggestions for really popular videos like the last one I did, it was very popular, as well as the one on Skynet. If you have suggestions of that sort, because some of the topics that I want to talk about are not popular. So I gotta I can't like make those videos all the time because then nobody watches them because people only want to hear what they want to hear. So if it's not exciting enough, it doesn't get any headway. So, I'd rather, make something that you'll watch. So if there's something that a big chunk of you want to see, then that would be fantastic. And that would be the kind of video I will make as the main ones. And then I'll show you some of the more educational ones on the side. Thank you very much, guys, and see you next week. Bye-bye.